tell yourself you're lazy. You drag through your mornings. You procrastinate on important tasks. You scroll endlessly through your phone instead of focusing. And in the quiet corners of your mind, a cruel whisper grows louder. You're weak. You're undisciplined. You're failing. But what if laziness isn't the true problem? What if your exhaustion, your distraction, your lack of motivation aren't signs of moral failure, but symptoms of something deeper, something chemical, something engineered? What if you are not lazy? You are overstimulated. Your brain was not built for the storm of signals it now faces daily. For millions of years, it evolved in calm environments, simple landscapes, real conversations, few sudden changes. It was designed for slow, meaningful engagement. But now, you receive more stimuli in 1 hour than your ancestors did in a year. Notifications buzz, ads flash, videos autoplay, news alerts scream, games reward you instantly. Social media delivers a rapid-fire loop of validation or shame. Each stimulus hijacks the same mechanism: dopamine, the chemical of pursuit, of drive, of anticipation. Dopamine doesn't give you pleasure, it gives you craving. It creates the feeling that you must act, must check, must click, must chase. But when the dopamine circuits are flooded constantly, they burn out. They become dull, desensitized, like a volume knob stuck on max until it just breaks. And when that happens, you lose the ability to feel drawn toward real goals. You lose the spark to begin, to sustain, to focus. Not because you're lazy, but because your system has been hijacked. You can't read a book anymore, can't start a project, can't finish a thought. Not because you don't care, but because you've been rewired to crave noise over nuance, urgency over depth, scrolling over stillness. And the worst part? You blame yourself. You carry the shame. You call yourself undisciplined. But behind the scenes, trillion-dollar systems are designed to keep you this way. Scattered, hooked, numbed. You are not broken. You are trapped in an attention economy that feeds on your restlessness. The human brain was designed for scarcity, not excess. It evolved under conditions of slowness, silence, and simplicity. For thousands of years, we sought out dopamine only when it mattered. To motivate us to hunt, to create, to connect, to survive. A burst of dopamine was rare. It meant something. It was tied to real achievement, real connection, real survival. But today, that same brain is dropped into a world it wasn't built for. A world of constant novelty, of algorithmic temptation, of infinite scrolling. You post a photo, get a like, you feel a surge. You win a virtual battle, another surge. You watch a 5-second video, again, a surge. Little rewards, constant buzz. But these aren't real accomplishments. They're simulations. And the brain, it can't always tell the difference, so it adapts. It raises the threshold. What once felt satisfying now feels flat. Reading a book becomes exhausting. A quiet walk becomes boring. Even a real conversation starts to feel slow. And so begins the cycle. The craving for faster, louder, more intense stimulation. Real life starts to feel inadequate, too slow, too subtle, too demanding. And then you feel it. Restlessness, boredom, the creeping guilt of being lazy. But you're not lazy. You're overstimulated. And paradoxically, undernourished. Because true satisfaction doesn't come from bursts of dopamine. It comes from depth, from presence, from doing hard, meaningful things over time, from living inside stories that unfold slowly, from experiences that don't come with a like button. But overstimulation robs you of the capacity for depth. It strips away your patience, your resilience, your attention. You stop reaching for challenge. You start reaching for convenience. You stop building. You start scrolling. You don't lack discipline. You've just been rewired. Your brain, once designed to thrive in slowness, has been captured by speed, by algorithms, by profit machines that feed on your focus. And the worst part? The more you give in, the harder it becomes to come back. Because your baseline changes, your expectations shift. Real life just can't compete. Modern industries understand your biology better than you do. Social media platforms, entertainment companies, advertising agencies. They have studied your brain. They know exactly how to trigger dopamine surges. They know how to keep you scrolling, swiping, clicking, consuming. They don't just capture your attention. They engineer your compulsion. Every bright color, every notification sound, every auto-played video, every flashing banner is designed with one goal: keep you chasing the next hit. Not because they want you happy, because they want you hooked. Your time is their product. Your focus is their profit. The longer you stay trapped in the dopamine loop, the more they win, and the more you lose yourself. You lose the ability to be bored without reaching for a screen. You lose the ability to focus deeply without craving distraction. You lose the ability to enjoy the slow, meaningful rewards of real life, like finishing a challenging project, building a real relationship, learning something difficult. Your brain, once wired for patience, is now rewired for urgency, for novelty, for endless craving. The system doesn't need you to be fulfilled. It needs you to be restless. Restless enough to keep scrolling. Restless enough to keep consuming. Restless enough to keep buying. And so a cycle is born. Overstimulation breeds restlessness. Restlessness breeds more consumption. Consumption breeds deeper numbness. And deeper numbness demands even stronger stimulation to feel anything at all. It is not your failure. It is their design. You are not weak. You are weaponized. Weaponized against yourself, against your ability to think clearly, against your ability to live meaningfully. But the first step to freedom is always awareness. To name the game is to begin escaping it. To see the strings is to begin cutting them. The industries will not change. The dopamine traps will not vanish. But you can change how you move through this landscape. You can reclaim your brain. You can rewire yourself back toward depth, patience, meaning. Not easily, not instantly, but inevitably, if you choose to fight for it. Freedom begins with reclaiming your attention. Because attention is not just a tool, it is your life force. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your energy flows, your identity grows. If your attention is hijacked, your identity is hijacked. You become what you repeatedly focus on. Scroll mindlessly, and you train your mind to crave noise, not meaning. Switch between 100 tasks, and you train your brain for fragmentation, not focus. Chase endless novelty, and you train your soul to be restless, not rooted. The modern world doesn't just distract you, it fragments you. It turns your mind into a battlefield where the loudest stimulus wins. But you have a choice, not an easy choice, not a passive choice, a daily, deliberate, defiant choice. To slow down, to focus deeply, to resist the pull of easy, shallow dopamine. Every time you choose to read a book instead of scrolling. Every time you choose to sit in silence instead of seeking stimulation. Every time you choose to work through discomfort instead of escaping. You are reclaiming your mind. You are rewiring your brain for resilience, not reactivity. For depth, not distraction. For meaning, not mere movement. It will feel unnatural at first. It'll feel boring. It will feel painful. Because a mind addicted to stimulation reacts to stillness the way an addict reacts to withdrawal. But if you stay with it, if you endure the discomfort, something remarkable happens. Silence stops being empty. It starts being full. Focus stops being a chore. It starts being a gift. Patience stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling like power. The greatest luxury in the modern world is not wealth. It is depth. Depth of thought, depth of connection, depth of presence. And depth can only be cultivated when you stop chasing the next hit and start reclaiming the wholeness of your own mind. Reclaiming your mind is not just about resisting overstimulation. It's about rebuilding the architecture of your life around what truly matters. Because your mind is not just shaped by what you resist. It is sculpted by what you invite. The environment you live in, the habits you nurture, the inputs you consume, the rituals you repeat, will either nourish your awareness or starve it. You cannot swim against a river forever. You must redirect the flow. You must design a life where focus, depth, and presence are not acts of rebellion, but natural outcomes of your surroundings. That means curating your inputs, ruthlessly, lovingly, intentionally. Unsubscribe, unfollow, delete, mute, walk away. Choose books over infinite feeds, conversations over notifications, creation over consumption. Reclaim boredom as a portal to imagination. Reclaim slowness as a pathway to wisdom. Treat your attention like sacred currency. Spend it only where it returns in soul, not just in stimulus. And remember, you're not powerless. You're not broken. You're not failing. You are simply living in a world that is engineered to disconnect you from yourself. Because your distraction is their business model. But it is your responsibility to reconnect. Reconnect to stillness. Reconnect to challenge. Reconnect to reality. Because in a culture designed to keep you numb, to keep you chasing, to keep you consuming, choosing to be awake is an act of revolution. Choosing to slow down is an act of courage. Choosing to focus is an act of love. Love for your mind. Love for your time. Love for your brief, precious life. There is no quick fix. No shortcut back to depth. No hack for presence. No app for inner peace. There is only this: a daily, deliberate, defiant journey. A journey away from numbness. A journey back to wholeness. A journey that begins the moment you say, "I will not be hijacked. I will not be rewired. I will remember who I am." And when that memory returns, it won't come like a lightning strike. It will come quietly. In the way you breathe, the way you listen, the way you finally feel at home in your own life. You're not lazy. You are overstimulated. You are exhausted from carrying a mind that was never allowed to rest. You are weary from chasing 1,000 empty rewards that were never meant to fulfill you. And now, standing here, aware of the trap, you face a new question. If you no longer chase what they offer, if you no longer numb yourself with noise, what remains? Who remains? Because stillness strips away the illusions. Without the constant bombardment of stimuli telling you who to be, what to fear, what to crave. You are left face to face with yourself. And for many, that is the scariest confrontation of all. Because when the noise fades, you might realize you don't really know who you are. You might discover your identity has been shaped more by consumption than creation, more by reaction than reflection, more by adaptation than authenticity. What if your deepest exhaustion doesn't come from doing too much, but from being too little of your true self? What if the death of authenticity, the slow erosion of your real essence beneath layers of borrowed dreams, conditioned fears, and artificial desires, is the true sickness of our age? And what if healing doesn't begin with more effort, more success, more doing, but with remembering? Remembering who you were before the world told you who to be, before stimulation rewired your instincts, before survival required performance. Stillness is not empty. It is where your real self still waits. Quiet, patient, unchanged. Not the self you show to impress, not the self you crafted to survive, but the self you forgot you were allowed to be. This remembering is not a soft return. It is a rebellion, a revolution of spirit. Because when you reclaim your attention, you begin to reclaim your authenticity. And when you reclaim your authenticity, you become free. Free from the tyranny of performance. Free from the illusion of perfection. Free from the hollow chase for approval. Because when you remember who you are, you no longer chase shadows. You no longer confuse stimulation with meaning. You live fully, consciously, deeply. But the path back to yourself begins with a question most never dare to ask. Who would I be if I stopped performing and simply existed? And the real answer, it doesn't arrive in a moment. It arrives in silence, over time. As you return to yourself, one breath at a time,